Basketball Manitoba podcast, we have Daniel Sackey. He is currently a senior at the University of New Orleans. He attended Kelvin High School and then transferred to Thornlea Secondary School, where he was a first-team All-Star. He was ranked number 16 in his class by North Pole Hoops and was selected to the 2018 BioSteel All-Canadian Game, where he won the slam dunk contest. He went on to play at Valparaiso University for 3 years, where he appeared in 92 games, 65 as a starter. He then transferred to the University of New Orleans, where last year he averaged 6.6 points per game and 2.8 assists per game, playing 27.6 minutes. He represented Canada at the international level, competing at the 2016 FIBA U17 World Championships in Spain. He became just the sixth Manitoban to earn a Division I men's basketball scholarship. Daniel, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate you for having me.
All right, so I'm just going to ask this straight from the top. So, we always go, so we start the podcast off. I give you a little prep, and I'll bring people behind the curtain a little bit. I read the whole bio first and I say, okay, is this all good? What do you think? And then the last thing I just said there is that you were the sixth Manitoban. We were trying to think, okay, well, who are the other Manitobans that played, got scholarships to Division I basketball? And we came up with a list of 4. So, obviously, we'll talk, we're going to keep talking here. And throughout that conversation, if it comes up, I'll blurt it out. Same with you. But if anyone who's listening right now knows, please hit us up. We need to know if this is an accurate fact and who the other Manitobans are. So I have to clear that out of the way straight off the top. But welcome to the podcast, man. Like I said, you're about to start your season. Speaking of Division I basketball, you start your last season. When you guys get going, like, are you practicing already with the team? I know the NCAA has all these rules on like when you can start practicing and everything. So what's going on right now for you?
So we do have practices going on right now, but only for a certain amount of hours per day. We can't go full on practice. As you said, like we have the regulations we need to go by. So we only do probably like an hour of team practice a day. Okay. For 4 or 5 days a week. And then obviously in the weight room as well. So that's about it for now. Just an hour a day.
So, but then are you allowed to like shoot whenever you want in addition to that?
Oh yeah, we can get in the gym whenever we want.
Okay.
It's just official team practice, like with us being in the gym with coaches, we're doing like instructive workouts and stuff like that. We only have a certain amount of hours to do that.
I got it. That makes sense. And then when's your first league game? Like, or not even league game. When's your first like actual game, like exhibition or anything?
First real game, November 7th, I think.
Okay, so it's still a little ways away.
Yeah.
Nice. So, man, I've been kind of asking everyone to start off the podcast about the big P, the big pandemic. We all kind of went through it in different ways. I know, I actually interviewed your boy Emmanuel, and he was telling me, because I'm sure the both of you had a similar experience, and it was much different than Canadian basketball players, because Canadian basketball players up in Canada, their whole season just got canceled. But you guys played through it, correct?
Yeah.
So just tell me about how that was. I mean, again, I don't know how it was down in New Orleans. I mean, in that conference. Let me talk to everyone about how it was restriction wise. What was different? Were you allowed to like fraternize, hang out with people? Just kind of walk us through that.
So when COVID hit, I was actually still at Valpo in Indiana.
Okay.
When COVID initially hit. So we had just finished our conference tournament. Like we made the finals. We had actually lost in the finals in the conference tournament. And then literally like 3 days later, COVID hit. Damn. So we luckily just finished our season. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad we actually still got to play and everything. I know people didn't even get to do their conference tournament, finish their seasons because COVID hit. So we finished our season, and then right when it hit, it's like the border shut down and all that stuff. So I couldn't go home till about, I think I went home in June or July for like 3 or 4 weeks, and then I came right back to school because they said the gym's going to be open. We're going to have no problem. It's going to be like basically nothing happened. So I went back to school at the Valpo. But yeah, that whole process was a lot. I quarantined a lot, and that was very frustrating and annoying. But yeah, COVID was a tough time for me at that time because I didn't really get to my family a lot. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I had to quarantine a lot because our team had a lot of outbreaks around that time as well. So I probably quarantined for like a month and a half straight at one point. Like it was it was out of control. It was out of control.
Wow.
Yeah. So
But
when COVID,
did you play like, so then that was March, got through summer, you went back down to Valpo, and then you played, were you still at Valpo for that year? Did you play that year?
yeah, that was my
Yeah.
last year. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so what was it like going through that season? Like what, because I mean, for us up in Canada, for the most part, we look down in the States, man, like we know there was some stuff going on, but compared to Canada, it was like, depending on what state you're in, obviously, it was
Mhm.
open. But how was it in Indiana and in that conference? Like, were you able to play? Were there fans in the arena?
Oh yeah, we still played. We played the full season.
Yeah,
But no fans. There was no fans.
no fans. Okay, okay.
And there was a lot of uncertainty too, because like I remember one time we were about to play a team. I forgot what we were about to play, but the game got canceled the day before. And then within like 20 minutes, like, okay, we're gonna play this team, another team. So like,
Really?
okay, cool. We had to scrap the whole scouting report, everything we did is go get ready to go play a whole different team. So like that's the type of year it was. And it happened to us about 3 or 4 times where literally
What?
the day before a game, it's like, okay, no, that team can't play. We're gonna go play this team. I'm like,
That's
okay, cool.
wild. That's wild. So
Yeah,
then what you just like, so these teams that are visiting you or like road games or both?
both, both.
So you just be like, yo, we were supposed to get on a bus and go that way, but we're gonna go to a different school, like that kind of thing.
Mhm. Or it was
Wow.
one time we supposed to have a home game. Home game got scrapped. Went on the bus that night to go play someone else the next day at day gym.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's
a lot of stuff.
crazy.
Yeah,
It's just like unpredictable.
very unpredictable.
That's
Very
so
unpredictable.
that's so crazy. But what I was gonna say though is and then like by the end of the season, were fans back? Were they for the whole season there were no fans?
We got fans in our conference tournament. That's the only time we got fans.
Okay.
Um, or maybe like the last 2 or 3 games in the season. That's when we
Yeah,
got
yeah.
fans. Majority of the season, we did not have any fans. It was empty gym.
That's so crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that must be weird. And then like obviously now like you've gotten to play with again with fans and everything. It's like 100 million times better, right? Like when you have no fans in the building and it's just I mean we all love to play, so you know that's that aside. But fans
Yeah.
compared to no fans, it's not even close.
It's not close. Like that experience itself is ridiculous. Like I guess you really get to see who really loves basketball for real
Yes.
in that
Yeah.
scenario, because you can see who's really still amped up to play. Like, okay, let's get a game, but if there's no fans, like, man, how am I trying to play right now?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like you saw a lot of that as well. So you really got to see who really is a hooper for real or not during COVID,
Mm,
you know?
yeah. Yeah.
So it was
Yeah. Who can kind of like dig down deep and motivate themselves, right? Like when the fans are
exactly
there
right.
and they're pumping you up and you're all jacked up, that's one thing. But as you walk out and it's like a dead arena, that's a whole
Right.
other animal. Yeah.
You got to find your own motivation, your own something to get yourself going. And you really got to dig deep within yourself.
Hmm.
I mean, for some more than others, some guys don't really have to do that. You just go in the gym and just play.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Just play. It
but
doesn't
for
really
others,
matter.
you really have to do that. Yeah.
So what type of guy are you? Are you the type of guy that's got to motivate yourself? Like you got to like, whatever it be, physical things, mental things. Are you just always ready to play and you always the same? Like how do you function?
Oh, I'm both. I'll say I was both. I'm always ready to play, but at the same time, I like to do my own little meditation and like get mentally prepared for the game. I like to do that anyway, regardless if there's fans or not. That's just
Hmm.
me. So when we found out there was gonna be no fans, that wasn't really, obviously it sucked, but that wasn't really a problem for me. Like
Hmm.
I didn't, and not that I didn't really care. Obviously I cared, but in terms of the game itself, I didn't really care. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. You had the same approach. Step out. You're gonna do the same things, right? Between the lines type stuff.
Exactly. The only thing
Uh,
that was different, I probably just had to just be way more louder, way more obnoxious, try to make it more fun for my teammates and myself. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Can't really allow the crowd for that stuff. Like that's the only thing. Like just making the game more fun for me,
True.
myself, and my teammates.
So then what like through the entire pandemic, and this doesn't have to be a basketball thing. This could be personal, spiritual, emotional, mental, whatever it is, physical. Um, did what did you take from it, I guess, or were there things that you took from it that had that pandemic not happened, you would not see the world that you see it the way you see it now?
Wow, it's interesting you asked. I was just thinking about that with my boy the other day. I would say I kind of, the way I view things is completely different. Like in terms of, how do I explain this? Like you don't have to necessarily do things by the book every time.
Mm,
If that makes sense. Like just because someone else or a couple of people on your team are doing something, that's how they do it, doesn't mean you have to do that. Like it's okay to have your own routine that you do besides away from the team,
Mm-hmm,
and that
mm-hmm.
was kind of a big eye opener to me when COVID hit, because I don't know if you know, but in college basketball, there's a lot of like it's systematic. Like everyone on the team is doing the same thing, whether it's like warming up and stuff like that. Very systematic. So when COVID hit, it was a lot of you can do your own stuff to get yourself going, all that stuff. So I kind of got in my own little routine and found things that that can help to me perform on and off the court. So I it's like kind of getting out of a matrix. If that makes sense. Like you don't really have to do things this way. You can do it another way, and it's still okay. You know what I mean? It's kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So if you're open to, what are some of those things that you kind of took on that get you ready? Like, again, I know you had mentioned a few, are you meditating more, or are there certain actual specific things you can point to that you started doing differently?
Oh yeah. Before the game, as simple as I do my own, I like to do my own stretching and warm up. So like I'll do that before I do that with the team. But I make sure I do it in a timely manner, so I'm not just stretching by myself and the team doing their own thing. Like I'll do it before we leave the hotel, like 2 hours, 3 hours. I'm already getting prepared, stretching and all that stuff, getting like ankle mobility and all that. Like, and I used to not do that until I got to the gym. And I guess that kind of not delayed, but I just find it helps me better if I do that before I even get to the gym. So when I get to the gym, I'm all just mind. Yeah, like my body's ready. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing I changed.
For sure. And then how about something that you changed, like outside of basketball? Or added. It doesn't have to be a change. Something you added or changed. Something different, something new.
Actually, I started calling my moms before every game. Like,
nice.
On the bus going to the game, I started doing that because in COVID, she would call me to try to help get me motivated and stuff, because she there's no fans, so she called me before every game, and that just became a routine. Like once COVID hit, like I know I'm getting a call from my mom like 1 or 2 hours before the game, so that's something kind of keep me going too.
So I gotta ask, man, what does your mom tell you to motivate you? Like, what does your mom say to you that like gets you being like, all right, like, or now is it just one of those things that's like part of the routine? It's just like what I do.
At first, it started off as her reminding me of basically like not letting me forget who I am, what I've accomplished so far, and then stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just help me keep my confidence up. Because at that time I was struggling a lot.
Yeah.
So, but now it's more so of, like what time it is. Like it's game time. Like we don't need to say too much. Like what it is. We'll talk a little bit, joke here and there, pray, and then the conversation's over. But before it started off as more motivational, now it's more so like, okay, I don't need to say too much. You know what you need to do. You got to go get it done. Here's just like, I know you see to hear my voice. Here's my voice, now go get it done. Type, You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. So speaking of your mom, speaking of your family, I should say, just we're kind of taking you back a little bit. We're still not entering into the basketball realm, but in your bio, it explicitly says he loves music and you play the drums. So like the big question is, I mean, again, I know you're away from your family. So it said like, you've performed, you went to Ghana and did some stuff with your family as well, with your church and all that. But obviously you can't do that from afar. So are you still involved? Like, do you get to express yourself musically at all while you're during the season? Or is that just something that you do when you go back home?
No, that's definitely something I just do when I go home.
Okay.
But I'm here. I don't really have, I don't have access to a drum set or anything musical out here. So I just do that when I'm at home.
Okay. Nice. All right. I got to ask, so what's your favorite genre and your favorite artist? And and you can't just say hip hop. Like, again, I mean, you got to tell me, like, I want specifics.
Well, okay. Yeah. My favorite genre, obviously rap, hip hop, R&B. Those are my 3 favorite. My favorite artist is Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
Not close.
Okay.
Not close. He's a lyrical, poetic genius. It's not close.
Kendrick's nice. I like Kendrick. All right, so let's take it way back. Let's get back on basketball. What were some of your first basketball memories? Like, how'd you get involved in the game? Did a specific someone say you're playing? Did you start liking it? I know you have brothers. Was it because of them? What are some of those early memories of basketball?
Yeah, honestly, it was mainly because of my brothers. I grew up playing soccer. I love soccer. Soccer is my first love. But then, growing up as a little kid, having older brothers, I wanted to do everything my older brothers were doing. So whenever they would go to the gym in the summertime, I was with them at the gym. Obviously, they wouldn't let me play, but I'd sit down, watch, And like, you know, it just looked fun to me. And you know about Tyndall Park growing up. Tyndall Park back then, like that was a spot like to go to. If you're a hooper, you're going to Tyndall Park.
Yeah.
And that was like 5-7 minute walk for me from the crib. So every Saturday and Sunday, me and my brothers, we walk into Tyndall Park. I'm watching them play all day. We there for hours upon a day. And I just grew a love for it. You know, obviously they never let me play because I was too small. But then once I started playing, it was like, oh, okay, this kid, like he got a little something, you know what I mean? And then my confidence just grew. And I just always played against my brothers and their friends, and they're 4 years older than me. So that physicality, I love embracing the physicality of the game. And I like the fact that like, okay, you got to go prove yourself.
Mm-hmm,
you know, like now we're gonna let you play. Okay, what could you do? I bet I'm gonna show you. That's kind of how it was.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously I've been around basketball me my whole life. You know, my family, like my uncle Stephen Tackey, my cousins Debbie your boy, Kevin your boy. You know, and they all Debbie played pro overseas. Kevin played at U of W. You know, I used to go to their games all the time. Like I remember Debbie's finals game at Sisler at U of W was 2009, I think. Like I remember that game vividly, and it's funny because I remember. Guess who played right after her game? Jared.
yeah. Shout out.
Jared was after her game. So I remember we were about to leave, and my uncle was like, he told my mom, he's like, no, like I want him to stay and watch this game. I'll take him home. Don't worry about it. So I stayed with Stephen the whole time. We watched the whole game, and I'll never forget Jared going off. Like he went nuts. He went nuts. And after I watched that, I'm like, yeah, like this. I kind of want to do this for you know, like basketball. Like it looks fun. And then started playing community basketball for Tyndall Park. That's when I met E-Man when he played with East Codonan. We used to play against each other all the time.
Yeah.
So grew up at Tyndall Park, and then I played Mayhem as the years went on with Alex Vera.
Yeah.
Taught me a lot about the game, taught me a whole lot. Actually helped me get it started a lot. So went to Mayhem, played Wolves, played Team Manitoba.
So, but when did you? So let me take you back. So obviously, you know, you had a lot of influence, a lot of basketball influence around you. You know, you saw some people that you're like, you know, I could do that. But you're playing at Tyndall, so you go play Tyndall Park. That's like community club. Yeah. When did you start playing? I guess Mayhem was your first club team.
Yeah,
yeah. So how old are you when you went from Tyndall Park to Mayhem?
I think I was about 10 or 11.
Okay, and this is when you kind of like took it serious, started like in your mind, like taking it more seriously.
Yeah. By 10 or 11, my parents was like, they asked me if I wanted to play, and I said yeah. And they asked me if I wanted to do soccer and basketball, and I said, why not? So that's why I ended up doing both of them at around 10, 11 years old. That's why I went to Mayhem. And then I think E-Man joined like a year or two after that. I think. But yeah.
When did you stop playing soccer?
I stopped when I was, I think, 13 or 14. Going into high school.
But you must have been pretty good though. Like you're a good athlete. You're quick. You're fast. You got you must have been good. You must have been really good.
Yeah, I was solid. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't have the skill set for soccer.
Okay.
So I was a defender, and I had one job: don't let anyone get past me.
Yeah.
And if the ball comes near me, just kick it away as hard as I can. That's the only way I was good at. So. And I was already fast, so no one's really getting past me. So that's all they had to do. Whenever the ball came around, just kick it as hard as I can the other way. So, but yeah, soccer was fun. Soccer was really fun.
So you mentioned obviously your brothers. You mentioned Tyndall Park. You talked about Mayhem, and you brought up Alex, right? So obviously, you know, Alex has been around for a long time. Alex, oddly enough, Alex coached me when Alex was a young man. Back in the day at the YMCA. Yeah. And I didn't know this. And so I like, this is just a complete aside. So Alex has been around for so long. I'm 39, and I was probably like, I don't know, 8 or 9 or something like that. Maybe even younger. I don't even remember how old I was, but I was a little kid. And he coached me at the YMCA. And one day he told me, like, we had been working together. I was working at WNBA. We talked on the phone. And one day he just brought it up. He's like, yeah, I coached you. And I was like, really? I had no recollection. Right. But then I asked I was thinking back, I'm like, yeah, it was you. And it's wild. So he's been around forever. Tons of people have great things to say about him as far as them, like, if, from a basketball standpoint, he embraces people, and he he has a really good culture and stuff like that. So I've heard tons of good stuff. Obviously, he's one of your earlier mentors. I'm just going to go out and assume.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking about Alex or about any mentors, beyond that, who were some of those mentors, and maybe just talk about a little bit some of some of those lessons that you kind of learned that kind of like got you to where you are now, and maybe even some lessons that you still like hold on to today, and still kind of use on the court and off the court.
Oh yeah, well, I'll start with Alex. But yeah, Alex was definitely a huge mentor for me growing up, coming up as a kid. He really taught me how to be a leader. He taught me how to be a leader growing up. He taught me how to, bring guys with me, and get guys going along with me as well in games, practice, no matter what it is. But he taught me the game away from the game, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like the game within the game. I don't know.
Yep.
Draymond Green talks about that a lot. The game within the game. That's what he taught me. And with that, really just the mental aspect of, don't let things bother you so much or get under your skin so much that you're losing sight of focus of what's really the task at hand of winning the game. You know what I mean? If example of that would be, I used to get in foul trouble all the time growing up. And Alex, I don't know if you know, Alex hates when his players get in foul trouble. Hates it. And I was a culprit of that. And every time I get in foul trouble, he go, "Yep, come here," and sit me down every time. I always get so mad. And I never understood it, but now I understand, like, he taught me that I need to be more careful and really pay attention to what I'm doing out there to make sure I can stay in the game for my teammates.
Mm-hmm.
Because and no worse feeling than you can't be in the game to help your team. Like as a hooper, that like ain't no worse feeling that is you can't even be in the game to help your team, especially due to foul trouble. So I took that lesson as in, even with life, that I really got to make sure I can be there for people that need me. That make you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To make sure I'm available. Like the best ability is availability. And I learned that at a really young age. I think Alex is the reason why that kind of stayed with me this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Another mentor is obviously my uncle Stephen Sackey. He taught me to really just be a dog, honestly. I mean, we're not very tall in my family. That's not a secret. But so he taught me that I'm gonna have to make sure I'm seen, no matter what it takes. Make sure you're seen. And he taught me to be a dog by always being the loudest person, being the most aggressive person, no matter what. If they look at you short, make sure they remember you as being tall. He used to tell me that all the time, like little things like that, And obviously Jared over Baby Jackson too, doing this thing overseas. I started connecting with him when I was about 16, 17 years old. And people don't understand about Jared is he don't work out with just anybody, or he don't want to go to the gym with just anybody. So when I found out, or when he told me he wanted me to come work out with him, like I took that as, wow, like you're serious, like you really care. And everything, he's taking me under his wing. Like I know I can call him or text him about anything, he's gonna answer the phone. So Jared's definitely always been there. Also, I got other people down here in the States as well, like Coach Gaywood, John Kerry. Obviously, I can't forget about Chris Skinner of Canada Elite. Chris Skinner's been there for me since day one. Ever since he met me, he's always been looking out, really teaching me how to be persistent and not give up. Taught me how to be persistent and just not be patient, if that makes sense. You can be patient, but if you're not persistent while being patient is not worth it. Like you're wasting your time. So Skinner definitely taught me that as well.
Oh, I like that. So I didn't know that you and Jared were close like that. Which makes sense. It's funny. So interestingly enough, this is kind of an aside to everything you said. But like I'm thinking about all this stuff. You're talking about all these people who affected you, and then I'm like, oh, I interviewed all these people, and it's like it'd be interesting. Manitoba, all the people like yourselves, Emmanuel, Jared, Keith, all these guys playing pro and stuff like that. Emily plays pro, like Keelan is going to play pro. It'd be cool if there was some kind of like, a little like mentorship program or something. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
people going out play and see, because think about it. And, we're going to talk more about your story, but this kind of why I wanted to bring it up, because like, if I asked you, I'm like, hey, Daniel, like, were there things that you would consider mistakes? Like you probably learned from them, but they were mistakes. And the answer is like usually yes. Like we all have mistakes in our lives, right? And it's they're only useful if we learn from them, right? But that doesn't mean that we want other people to have to go through those mistakes, right? You want to pass on your knowledge, right, so that they can avoid those same pitfalls. And it'd be really cool if we could kind of put together a little like mentorship program, or make sure that when someone's coming up and they're kind of breaking through, that we can connect them with people. So it's great to hear that you were able to connect with Jared, because like, man, like Jared's unbelievable resource, super hard worker. He's
Mhm.
doing it, so it's great. What about so kind of want to talk to you about Tacky a little bit, Coach Tacky. I interviewed obviously him as well, and you had mentioned your height, so I have to bring that up because I kind of want to ask you specifically about that. So like you're typically like usually the shortest guy on the floor, right, for the most part.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that Tacky said when they remember you, say that again, that thing that when they remember you as being tall. I don't know, how do you
Yeah.
say that, say that again.
Like they'll see you as being small, but they remember you as being tall.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And that's something that of course Tacky would say, I mean, like short, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, man. Um, and then you said something else too about patiently waiting. Can you say that one again? Patient,
Got to be persistent while you're being patient. You
persistent.
can't be patient without being persistent.
Okay. I like that. I like that. I like to pull
Yeah.
things out of the interview. So, but no, hey, so you've obviously had some really good mentors. It's awesome to hear that you have like a basketball mentor as well. That's someone who's actually going through it right now. But I want to, so you play at Mayhem. You went on, you said you play at Wolves, and we know you play provincial team. You went on to play um, for Team Canada as well. But I want to kind of ask you about the transferring, because you were at Calvin, right? So you
Yeah.
played at Calvin, and at some point you're like, look, I want to leave. I want to go play in the States. I guess the big question is when did you realize in your head that you're like, I want to go play Division I basketball? Like when did you make that decision? And did that decision the decision to go play to go play Division I basketball affect your decision to leave Calvin? I guess is the big question.
Okay, that's a great question. So I decided, or I knew I wanted to play Division I basketball. Actually, when I don't know if you remember, well, you probably remember when Louisville and Michigan, the NCAA finals.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that
of
was
course.
2013 or
Yeah.
2012, one of the years. I was watching that game, and that Louisville team is my favorite team. And because of, I don't know if you remember, Russ Smith
Hmm.
and Payne Siva.
Hmm. Yeah.
Russ Smith is about 5'10". Payne Siva is not even about 6 feet. So I watched them that whole year, and I'll never forget. I always thought watching them like these guys are small like me, but like they don't care. Like they're dogs. Like they're not letting their height affect their game. And I'll never forget when they won that chip. I was like, yeah, I want to be where these guys are at.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they can do it, why can't I do it? Like
Mm-hmm.
seeing Russ Smith and Payne Siva, those guys perform the way they did on that stage, it was kind of like, wow. Like it was really an eye opener for me, really. That I really wanted to play Division I basketball and get that milestone, because I knew at that time, especially Manitobans weren't playing Division I basketball. They weren't known, you know what I mean? We didn't have anyone really going out of the city playing basketball doing that. So I remember I talked to Iman about this as well. Like we used to always talk with each other on trips and everything. Like, bro, we want to be the first ones to really to do this thing big, and show that it's not just talent in Ontario or Quebec, Scotia or BC. Like, we from Manitoba, we can do it too. Who cares? And we took that chip on our shoulder from day one and just ran with it. And so yeah, that was definitely my when I realized I wanted to play Division I basketball, that championship game.
Nice, nice.
And then my bad. What was your other question?
And then so was that decision? So once you're like, look, I need to do this, was that like, okay, I have to leave, I have to get higher level competition? Was that the thing that made you decide, look, I gotta go, I gotta leave Manitoba?
Nah, so honestly, to be real with you, I wasn't planning on leaving Manitoba.
Oh, for real?
No, that was not the plan. Like, I didn't know about the whole prep school route or anything. Like, I thought I wasn't gonna go back to Kelvin, but I was gonna go back to school in Winnipeg. I thought like that was my plan. But that summer I played with Canada Elite, and all that changed. I didn't play so good in the beginning of the summer. The late in the summer, I started playing really well, and I never forget. I went home, and like 2-3 days later, my coach Chris Skinner, he called me. He's like, "Yeah, how'd you feel about going to school in America?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean going to school in America? Like, I've never thought of doing that." And he's like, "Yeah, I got a school that wants you, and they want you to come down in like a week and a half, in 2 weeks."
Wow.
So I talked to my brother about it. Talking to my mom. Also, my mom was like, "No, like this is not. Like, you're 15, 16 years old. What are you talking about?"
Of course.
I deal was shut down. But then, we prayed about it. My mom talked to Skinner, and then it kind of just happened. Like within the span of a week, I went from going to school in Winnipeg, planning to go to school in Winnipeg, to moving to St. Louis within like a week and a half, 2 weeks. So yeah, that really kind of just happened. That was on the fly. But I was so serious about basketball at that point, I really didn't care where I was going. I just wanted. They told me I needed to do this to get to the next level. I'm like, man, I'm doing it. Let's do it. I don't care where I need to go. I wanted to keep going. I wanted to get to where I wanted to be division basketball so bad that like I don't care where I need to go. If you tell me I need to go live in Nevada or in the mountains, I didn't care. Like I wanted to, whatever route I needed to go to get there, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So that's what happened.
So I know, like, I mean, we chatted a little bit offline. I was like, hey, where'd you go to high school? I totally forgot about the Calvin thing. You kind of got me up to speed with that. I know, and again, you kind of had a little bit of a bounce around from Calvin. You went to St. Louis. So like, because you ended up finishing in Ontario, right? In Ontario, back in Canada again. So you played 1 year in St. Louis, and then like give us the quick version of like what happened. How'd you end up get to Ontario?
Yeah, so I played 2 years at Kelvin, and then 1 year in St. Louis. Didn't go too well, so I transferred to South Carolina. Had a great year. Again, stuff in the organization didn't go so well, so I had to transfer again. Then I moved back to Canada, moved to Toronto, finished with Thornlea. So
Nice.
those 4 years was hectic, like,
To say the least.
It was hectic from going from Winnipeg to St. Louis, to South Carolina, to Toronto, to Indiana. I lived in 5 different places in 5 years, if you really take that in. So like it was definitely a hectic time. Not mainly for me, but also my parents as well. Like looking back at it, I can't imagine how my parents did what they did with me. Like to just send a kid to a different year for 5 years, that's tough. Like, I can't imagine as a parent, that's tough. Like the stress on that, I tell my mom every time, I'm like, you're different. Because I don't even think I don't even think I can do that myself. Like having a child do that, to be what I've been through, to let my child do that, I don't think I let my child do what I did. I'm not gonna
You'd be like, nah, not gonna be able to do it.
I'm not gonna lie, but they're my backbone, so they give me that strength, so I get my strength from them. But yeah,
respect to that, man. Shout out to the parents, shout out to the family. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. See, like you went through some, we didn't get into like all, this has been bad, but at the end of the day, it's like you probably learned a lot. So like if you were advising somebody now, you could tell them, hey, look, these are the type of things you want to look out for. This is what these are the kind of things. These are green flags, these are red flags. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You could advise some people on that exact stuff now because you've been through it,
Yeah.
So
I can definitely, because I honestly, I wish I had Jared, but Jared's route was different. He didn't do the whole prep school route, so I couldn't really go to him for certain things because he wouldn't get it, he wouldn't understand because he didn't experience it. So I definitely wish I had someone who did it before me, but I definitely like how the idea you said, this mentorship. That's definitely a cool idea. So I feel like that's something we lack in Winnipeg, honestly. That's definitely, I would definitely be up for something like that. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, it's good to hear, man. I think something might come from this. This is interesting. Something might come. This is why this, talking with people, having conversation is so important, because like ideas just kind of come up, out of the ether, and you're like, oh, that's a cool idea. So not that mentorship programs are anything new, but I just came to think, I'm like, you know what? We're trying to produce talent. We're out here doing stuff. Like, why wouldn't we have that? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Especially, I mean, again, it's not like everyone would want to do it, but like there's going to be certain people who are like, yeah, I'll mentor. Like, people, if people need an ear, or they want to ask questions, like I'll do that. Other people won't, and that's cool. So
Yeah.
all right, so you end up playing back in Ontario. You mentioned Valparaiso, you ended up at Valpo. So two questions. One, who else was recruiting you? I'm assuming it wasn't only Valparaiso. Were there any Canadian schools recruiting you? So let's tell us some of the schools, and then why'd you choose Valparaiso?
Okay, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I'm not gonna lie. I had a couple of good amount of schools coming out of high school,
Okay.
but I was a late qualifier.
Mm,
So because I didn't end up qualifying until about like late February, beginning of March.
yeah.
And at that time as a senior, people usually sign before their senior season even starts.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's normal. But for me, being such a late qualifier, also being 5'9", also being Canadian, I lost a lot of schools due to that. So I didn't have any Canadian schools. Personally, I didn't want to have any Canadian schools. That's not what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I chose Valpo because they stuck on me, even though I was going through that time of trying to qualify. They never stopped recruiting me, never stopped calling me, checking up on me, like, especially outside of basketball. I grew a really great relationship with their coach, Luke Gore,
Mm-hmm.
that assistant coach there, still to this day. Like me and him, even though I transferred, like we still cool. I can still call him, So he's basically the reason why I went to Valpo. I grew such a great relationship where I felt comfortable that, they were going to take care of me. They're going to help me get better. And all that other stuff going to Valpo. So that's basically why I went to Valpo.
I hear you. So then what? So then you played 3 seasons there.
Yeah.
One of them didn't count because of the pandemic, right? Everyone got that one free year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you transferred to New Orleans.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, was it a simple reason? Was it just more you wanted more opportunity? Like, I mean, again, if it's not something you don't feel like you want to share, that's all good. But be interesting to know, because, and the reason why I asked this is because, like, you're someone who, like, again, you went to all over the place. Like you said, in those 4 years, you went all over the place, and you found a spot that you were like there for a few times, a few years in a row. You had some consistency. Then you're like, I'm out. So, what was the main reason? I guess the main reason why you transferred.
The main reason I just didn't feel like I felt like I got stagnant as a player. I didn't feel like my game was developing. I felt like I didn't make the jump I needed to make from my sophomore to junior year, that year in between that. And obviously COVID played a huge part in that. But I just felt like I needed more more personal hands-on coach tell me with my game. And I wasn't receiving that at Valpo. Which I am receiving here at New Orleans. Like I didn't feel like just generally I wasn't getting better as a person. And I wanted to elevate my game to know what it just was. Cause I feel like going to Valpo really taught me how to be a point guard, a true real point guard. But I also felt like, like people know me coming out of high school, like that's not all I was in high school. And I just felt like they recruited me for not for what I did in high school, what they think I could do for them, but just forget everything I did in high school. Like, I can do more things as just being come down the court and just pass the ball. And that you go stand in the corner. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I just felt like I needed to expand more game. And here in New Orleans, I got my coach here, Coach Jay. I'm in the gym with him all the time, like one-on-one. He's really helped me dissect my game and where I need to attack certain aspects here and there, And also, it was also the strength and conditioning of it as well, getting my body back right. Physical therapy and stuff like that also played a huge part in it, as well as transfers. So I just feel like here, they were just more hands-on with me with taking my game to the next level and make sure my body's good. So that's why. Yeah.
Those are big reasons. And now you went, so Valpo is it in Indianapolis or just in Indiana? Where is Valpo?
It's in Indiana. It's about
Okay.
2 hours from Indianapolis.
Is the city called Valparaiso City? Is that a city?
Yeah.
Okay.
City called Valparaiso.
Okay. And then now you're actually in New Orleans?
Yeah.
That's a big change, man.
It's night and day. It's not close. It's not close. Valpo is like a small college town. Like you can walk around at 3 o'clock in the morning, you good. Like here in New Orleans, nah.
Yeah, this is a different story.
Here in New Orleans, you gotta watch your back. You can't just go around anywhere. You really gotta be smart.
Yeah. A lot more going on there too as well. Like there's just the city. I mean, is New Orleans a city? No, that's New York. See, what do they say about New Orleans? The city never sleeps? No, that's not it. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Mardi Gras, it's a big city. It's New Orleans. I mean, I don't know what else to say, man. So
I know. You know what they say? Well, I'm gonna say that. They say New Orleans.
New Orleans.
New Orleans is always
New Orleans. Yeah.
That's why, like, there's always conflict, always something crazy going on. That's what they call it, New Orleans. So
wow,
that's New Orleans' nickname. But.
New Orleans. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm curious. So, like you said, you went to a new program, looking new system, new focus, kind of on developing your game. Fast forward, obviously you still have a whole year ahead of you, but things you're doing now are planning for future situations. So what's going on for you next year? What's the next steps for you? What do you want? What are your goals?
I want to. Obviously, I'm going to want to play professional. That's number one. I'm play professional for sure. But next year, definitely going to sign with an agent. I'm definitely going to go to probably the CBL route, get into the CBL and go from there.
Okay.
But yeah, because I got some connections with that already. So I'm not trying to say it's a guarantee or anything, but that's the route I'm probably going to take. Getting an agent, playing the CBL, and getting the best deal I can for going from there.
Nice.
Hopefully, I want to end up in Europe, because Europe is. I've always wanted to live in Europe. That's number one.
Yeah.
Europe is so nice to me. I've always wanted to go over there. So yeah, if I could go over there and play for money in Europe, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, you do have a good mentor in Jared as well to kind of help you out with that, at least give you some advice or maybe connect you a little bit. So that's nice. So I gotta ask, because when I asked Eman this, South Sudan, so I'm gonna ask you the same thing about Ghana. I don't know. I've never seen. I know Ghana has a national team. Like,
not for basketball.
So they don't even have a national team. No. So one second. That's what's messed up is like. So actually, so one of my good friends is he's from Ghana as well. His family is, right. So Isaac Ansa. And we were actually talking about this because he was out there with his family, I don't know, like 6 years ago, something like that. And he was saying that he knew some people at the sports. I guess there was some connection there with someone who they met, and he works in the sports ministry and all that. And he was like, and he actually told me, so it's funny, I totally forgot when I asked you the question, but he told me, yeah, there's no basketball program there. So, but wouldn't it be cool if at one point, because like, I mean, you could get the connection, like whatever, passport, all that stuff there. It would be cool if there was an opportunity to represent Ghana somehow.
Yes.
In basketball. Because yes. I mean, there's a bunch of people, that are from, their families are from Ghana, and you could make a squad. You know what I mean? There's enough good players out there to make a real squad. Even I don't know if you saw that little African tournament they had this past weekend. Yeah. Even that, we can make a team for that. I know. You know what I mean? But that's what. So I was talking with Isaac, and he said my friend, a coworker, played in it for Eritrea, and he's like, I don't know why there wasn't a team for Ghana. I was like, I don't know. I'm surprised too. I don't know why there isn't. Yeah. If I was 100%, if I was home, I definitely would have told them to make a team Ghana 100%. Because we have players. It's not like there's no Ghanaians in Winnipeg. Of course. Like there's many of us, but I don't know. I guess no one's really just took that initiative to start a Ghanaian team. Yeah. And at the national level as well. I don't think I've never really asked or looked into it, but I just think they're so focused on soccer in Ghana
Like, especially because now we're back on the come up, back in the World Cup and everything. They're like, they're putting everything to that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're even thinking about trying to start something new right now.
Yeah,
you know?
no, it's unfortunate, but I think at some point, it takes a champion, man, to step up and say we want to do this. And I mean, again, obviously money is a big factor, but
yeah,
you never know. You never know. So just real briefly, man. So like I know you had mentioned, you're a shorter basketball player. Obviously, you still, I mean, you chose a sport where everyone's taller than you, like Coach Tacky said, you got to make people remember you as tall when they think about you. But is there anything that you do specifically that like is different than, like, say, the average wing player? So like especially in the NCAA, because like NCAA, unbelievable athletes, really good size, right? Especially when comparing to Canadian basketball. So are there things that you do differently and focus on that are different than most players just because of your height? Or you just train like everybody else?
Yeah. Well, growing up, my first step has always been fast. It's always been quick. But when I really started training and working out, my trainer, my old school, really emphasized, like, if I can get that even faster, like, it's gonna be a problem. So that's one thing I worked on specifically at my old school, was my first step reaction stuff. If I can get quick twitch muscles, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So if I can get my reaction as quicker than what it is right now, then it only gonna get me even better, offensively and especially defensively. So and as a small guard, defense got to be my bread and butter as well. So if I can get my first step on defense quick, that's only gonna help me even more. So definitely my first step and quick reaction and stuff is definitely been something I put a point of emphasis on. Is when I got to college, for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, like, yeah, if you can get somewhere quicker, you don't have to be taller, you don't have to jump higher, you can just get there first.
Exactly.
And that's all that really matters. All right, so we're gonna wrap up, but I still have a couple more questions. So this is the part I always end the interview with these essential 3 questions. So I'm gonna ask you to scrape your memory here. So but before I ask the question, really whatever comes to mind. I mean, you don't have to like think of the best story, just whatever comes to mind when I ask the question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the first question is this: your most memorable basketball story. So this can be a moment, it can be a season, it can be, literally on the court, it can be after the game, in the locker room, whatever. It's your most memorable basketball story.
Most memorable basketball story.
A big game. I don't know. You hit a shot, something like that. I'm sure there's lots of moments, man. You've been hooping for a while now.
Yeah, no, I definitely have a lot. I have a lot. Most memorable one.
So, but what's the first one that comes to mind? Like, I'm sure when I say that, a bunch like flood into your head. You're like, oh, there's a few I could pull from.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I won that dunk contest, that's gotta be.
Yeah, I'm happy you brought that up. Okay, so okay, hold up. Before you even say anything about this, please, and I don't want the fake height, man. Like with your shoes off, just tell us how tall you are. Just
I am 5'9".
Okay, so you're
Shoes
5'9",
off,
shoes
yes.
off. All right. So you go in. Tell us about the dunk contest.
Okay, so I wasn't even supposed to do it. I was not planning on doing it. I because the year before I did it and I lost, and I seen the list of guys who were in it for the upcoming year. Like, for example, Lugens Dort, Quincy Guerriere, Adong, Addison Patterson. Like, these guys have extreme bounce. So I'm looking at the list. I'm like, I'm not even gonna block. I'm good. And then Tony McIntyre. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
He came to me and he's like, bro, you got to do it. Like, you got just for a show, you got to do it. Like, it just looks great. Having another small guy in the dunk contest, I'm like, you see the guys who are here warming up, you see what they're doing, East Bays and Wimbledon like that. I have no chance. He's like, bro, if you just finish your dunks on the first try, you'll win. He told me that. He's like, if you do every dunk on the first try, don't worry about it. You win. So I'm like, whatever, man, I'll do it. So dunk contest happens, and these guys are just dunking these powerful dunks. Like, and every time they dunk it, the rim almost breaks. I'm like, I got no chance of doing this. So I'm gonna just wing it. So I said to myself, if I can, like you said, finish every dunk on the first try and just dunk as hard as I can, make it seem louder, I can get a better reaction from fans.
Yeah.
And also, if I just try to get the crowd more engaged than everybody else, I can possibly be on my side too, get the crowd more hype. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's what I did. Before every dunk, make sure the crowd was on my side, make everybody hype. And every dunk I did, I make sure I just punched it as hard as I can. Like, I'll never forget, I had this bruise on my wrist. My wrist was so red because I just tried to break my hand every time I dunked. And I got my boy Cassius McNeely to go up in the balcony, and he threw the ball down. I'm like, bro, just throw it somewhere around the rim, and I'll go get it. Yeah. For my last dunk. Because I think it was Quincy, he missed his dunk, so all I had to do was finish the dunk, and I won. If I just dunked the ball, I win. So I'm like, bet. So I got him to throw it down. And
off the bounce though, like it hit the floor and then up.
Yeah, off the bounce.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, when he bounced it, I'm like, this ball's going. I have no chance of getting this. I'm like, I'm gonna just jump. So I jumped, and I remember having to reach all the way back. Like, I remember thinking, like, yo, I'm not gonna make this. And when I caught it, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm higher than I thought. I remember I looked at the rim, and I remember telling myself, I'm like, bro, just dunk it as hard as you can, as hard as you can. So I caught it. That's when, boom! I remember I dunked it, and when I dunked it, I fell like kind of to the ground with my head down. And when I fell, I heard the noise, and I'm like, I won. After I heard everyone's reaction, I won. And I turned around, I seen everybody running at me and lifting me up and everything. I'm like, it's over. I won. I can't believe I just won a dunk contest.
That's wild, man. That's crazy. That's
and
crazy.
It was more funny because Steven was telling me to do it. Taggy.
For real?
I'm like, yeah, he was telling me to do it. I'm like, I don't want to do it. And he was telling me, he's like, listen, you may even surprise yourself. Just do it. And I'm like, okay. I'm talking to him. Tony telling me to do it. Other guys telling me to do it. I'm like, I'm gonna just do it. And I ended up winning. So that's definitely one of my fondest moments. And it was happened to be my birthday as well.
That's crazy.
At the same time, so
that's crazy. But hey, so that is an unbelievable moment. Again, like, you know, I made sure you said your hype first. You obviously listed some of the people who were in the contest, stuff like that. But I mean, this is kind of one of those moments. It must have been a moment for you where you're like, nah, like if you were doubting yourself in any other thing, you're like, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, like, you may not succeed in something, but you have to go out there. You know what I mean? And this is a classic example. Had you not done it, that's a 0% chance you would have won this. We wouldn't have been having this conversation.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like yeah, that was definitely an eye opener to me. Like, you really gotta just try whatever it is. Like, just do it. Like, the only way it's not gonna work is if you don't do it at all. Exactly. Like, that's the only guarantee you have. Like, you know, other than that, take your chances. You know, and that's something I learned. That helped me actually in college as well. When I was going on in college, when I had this stretch where I was really struggling, and I was talking to somebody, and they reminded me of the dunk contest. And I remember that I'm like, dude, like, just what could go wrong for you? Just try it, you know. Yep. Just forget what anybody else is saying, you know. Like, just do it. What's the worst that can happen?
Yep.
Yeah, like, you miss 100% every shot. You're not going to take. Just take.
Exactly. You know, so. It's exactly it. It's exactly it. And that's exactly what I was thinking about when you were saying all that. I'm like, man, like, yeah, it's just crazy. Like, I just asked you to give us your most memorable basketball story, and it was something that you were like, no, I don't want to. People had to talk you into it. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. All right. So we went over the most memorable story. Now I want to hear your funniest basketball story. So this can be like a single story. It can be, you know, whatever comes to mind. It can be on the bus. It can be, you know, the coach spilling the whole jug of water. I don't know, anything like that.
Funniest basketball story. Wow. Okay. This is going back to provincial team. I don't even think this was E-Man too, by the way. E-Man probably don't even remember it. So,
all right, let's hear it.
We're playing, this is 2015 or 2014 when we're playing 15U in Edmonton, Alberta. And we're in the semifinal game playing against Quebec to go to the finals. And it's been a rough turn. I'm not gonna lie. It's been a rough, but crazy in terms of like crazy emotions, everything. Like it was a rough tournament. Everyone on the team, the vibe was just off. It was just bad, you know. And we're going to the semifinal game. I'm like, yo, what's up? Like we can go to the championship game. All we have to do is beat Quebec. But mind you, Quebec smacked us like the first game of the tournament.
Okay.
Bad. So everyone energy was down. So I'm like, yo, like we got to get each other going. Like, what's up? I'm looking at Eman. Eman's like, yo, I'm not even trying to play right now. Like, Eman was mad about something. I forgot what he was mad about. He's like, I'm not even trying to play. Like, and he was playing just without no energy or effort, no passion. And at halftime, I remember I went at halftime and I ripped him in front of everybody. Like I was cussing him out, yelling at him. And me and him were going at it face to face, like yelling at each other. We're both crying. Like it was crazy. Like I remember Coach Song had to come up in between us and separate us. But I remember that as just being like, we both just wanted it so bad that we started crying at halftime. I remember looking at each other like, bro, we're really here crying. Like, what are we doing? I remember we looked at each other, bro, we're really here crying, like, yelling at each other. And we looked at each other, both started laughing and just went out and just played again. Like nothing just happened. And I remember after the game, Coach Sung looked at me and him and he's like, you guys are just different. Like, like he was fed up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what you guys got going on. And that moment actually is funny because when me and him played Canada Elite later on, we had another similar moment like that. But I remember that was the time we actually came together and won the game, you know? So that was an interesting moment. I know it's supposed to be a funny moment, but it's an interesting moment because I'm glad we had that. Because if we didn't have that then with Manitoba, when we played the next game, we wouldn't have fallen completely apart. I'm sorry, my camera already messed up. You know what I mean? Like we wouldn't have fallen completely apart. But like we were able to come together, you know, and it just shows how passionate at a young age we were for the game and wanted to win. Like, you know, like, and just show how much we care, you know. Look back at it, it's funny because we were both yelling at each other, screaming and crying at halftime. And mind you, I don't know if you know the gyms in Alberta, how it's all the courts are connected.
Yeah.
So there's not much of locker room. There's no locker room. So our halftime meeting or whatever is like 2 feet away from the bench in a circle, like we're kids, you know what I mean? So all this yelling going on is going on in front of everybody.
Wow.
Like, Quebec is seeing it, the fans are seeing it, like, so that's what made it more funny because like we're just doing this fun to everybody. And it was crazy.
Wow. Well, it's funny because that's one of those things, like in the moment it wasn't funny, but when you look back it's funny. You're just like, come on, man, what were we doing? Like, but I like how you brought it around though, because it kind of like it serves to kind of like bond you guys a little bit. So you had that moment, so you know that later on it's like I can get in your face, I still love you, it's all love. But man, you know what? You need to play harder, whatever it is. It's about basketball at that point. It's about accomplishing a task. And you know that you can talk to someone that way, but it's still all love, right?
Yeah, it's not taking it personal too.
Yeah, exactly. So last question here. All right. So I'm gonna paint the picture for you. So you're we talked a little bit about you being, maybe a mentor sometime to some of the youth coming up in Manitoba. So now let's imagine that you're talking to a room of youth, or maybe just one, and they're like, look, Daniel, I see, you know what, I want to do what you did. I want to play Division I basketball. What should I do? And you had to give them 3 pieces of advice of the things that you learned along your journey that you want to now pass on to this person. What would you tell them?
Number one, I would say you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. Like, especially coming where we coming from. We're not coming from Ontario, BC, Quebec.
Yep.
Like you really have to believe in yourself that, wherever you go, like, you're going to give somebody the business every time. Like, you got to have that chip in your shoulder. Because I'll never forget when we went to Team Canada tryouts and I've seen every big name at that time for our age was there. And I'll never forget thinking like, dude, if I don't come here and try to show out even just a little bit, I'm gonna get embarrassed bad. Like, so you really have to believe in yourself and believe that wherever you go, you step on the floor, that, you're the best. Simple as that. Like, no one can rock with you. That you're gonna, whoever's gonna come in front of me, I'm about to beat you. Like, it's about to be a hard day for you. You gotta have that kind of mentality, that kind of attitude. Secondly, I would say you have to, like I said about being persistent and patient. You have to make sure you're being persistent and not just patient, because if you just sit around just waiting for a call, but all you've been doing just sitting around just playing video games, doing nothing, like you haven't been still in the gym working on your game. By the time you get there, you're going to be rusty. You're going to play bad. Your opportunity's going to be going to death, So, like I said, especially coming from the opportunity we had, that might be your only one chance to show what you have, So if you don't come correct that one time, that is over, So you got to make sure you're on top of your stuff and make sure you're being crisp. By being crisp, by doing daily things that's going to help get you to where you're going. A third thing I would say is, you got to be coachable. Not necessarily, not just a coach, but you got to be able to listen, and not just listen, but apply to what you've been told. And that's a big thing Steven instilled with me at a very young age within basketball, is that little things like keeping eye contact when you're talking to somebody, not crossing your arms, like looking gaze, body language, stuff like that. To show that, show them that you care, you're not wasting their time to helping you. Because a lot of times coming up, coaches aren't getting paid to coach, especially in Winnipeg. So they see it as disrespect if you're not showing them the respect they need, taking out their time to come coach you, help you. So be coachable, listen, just honestly, just not being in so many words now. in so many words, because not doing that can take you a long way, especially in basketball. Building relationships like can take you a long way. So yeah, those are three things I would say.
Well, those are three good pieces of advice. The last one, especially, because like you said, at the end of the day, think about when I asked you about your mentors or, people who you spoke with and talked to. Those are all people, right?
Exactly.
They're people first, and those people are going to be the people who help you advance and do things, right? And so if you approach all these situations and understanding that like it is a people first thing, it's going to be to your benefit, and it's going to be mutually beneficial. So every interaction you have, that person has their own stuff, they're there for their own reasons, and you're there for your own reasons. But how can we connect on a mutual level that's going to be beneficial for both of us? And I think that's huge. And when you're a young basketball player, your job, like you just said it, man, your job is to come out and listen and perform, right, and try your best and just execute, right? If the coach says, hey, I want you to do this, you don't, like you say, you don't sit there like this, you just do it, and you learn from it, right? And you do show that respect. And that is really, really good advice, because the amount of players, I used to coach a lot back in the day, and I know you've experienced a lot of players like this. They had lots of talent, but their attitudes were bad. They didn't listen, and as a result, their opportunities get smaller and smaller, and they don't get better. They don't get better as a person. They don't get better mentally, and they don't definitely don't get better on the basketball court, because they actually don't get as many opportunities, because they eliminate themselves essentially.
Exactly.
And you don't want to be that person. You just do not want to be that person. So that was all great advice. I
got one more.
Go ahead, let's hear it.
Because like, especially for right now, I feel like Winnipeg is, for some reason, the crime rate in Winnipeg has just went crazy. Like, the stuff I'm hearing in Winnipeg is ridiculous. And growing up, like, it wasn't really as severe as it is right now. But like, I would say, just, you don't have to follow your friends. Like, you don't be a follower just because they're doing something. Doesn't mean you got to go do it. I feel like that's how a lot of kids in Winnipeg get caught up and messed up, because they just follow them. I just saw the simple fact that they may be just bored, nothing to do. Even if it's that, just go to the gym. Don't you don't have to do all the other stuff they're doing. You know what I mean? Like it's cool. It's okay to be the odd one out. It's okay to be a misfit. Like all that stuff is okay. You don't have to fit in just to have friends, especially when it's like you really got to put aside all that stuff to see the bigger picture of what you're trying to do. If you're serious about it, you can't be doing all that other stuff.
Yep. You
know,
that's perfectly said, and that's and that is like anytime you're trying to do something extraordinary or different, like you're gonna have to be different, kind of, you know what I mean? And it's not like, you know, you think about all the people playing basketball in Manitoba that are graduating each year, or even all the ones that are in from the 10th to 12th grade. If you want to be different than most of those people, you can't just do the same things, and that's a big part of it. Like, it's like don't just think that you have to like do what all your friends do. You got to be different. Your life has to be different. You got to pursue things differently. And that's all real good advice. I appreciate you taking the time. I think our conversation may have spurred a potential project for Basketball Manitoba to kind of maybe a mentorship. You know, referees have mentorship programs. Coaches have mentorship programs. But as far as I know, you know, at least in Manitoba, we don't have any mentorship programs for people who are trying to, you know, college players, pros and stuff like that. So I think it would be something really cool to start. So I think this might get Adam thinking a little bit, or maybe Dan, you know, Becker or Randy, some of those guys, some of those people up in Bass Manitoba that's thinking about maybe we can develop some of these types of programs. But on that note, before I say goodbye, if anyone does, you know, any young ballers are listening to this right now, can they reach out to you at all? Like, is there a way that they can hit you up if you know, they're like, hey, look, you know, I have some questions. Are you open to that?
Yeah, I'm open to that.
Okay.
My IG, I can, some way we can put this on here somehow.
Yeah, we can we'll put your IG in the notes.
Okay,
so
cool,
yeah,
cool.
check the description of the podcast. It'll be on, obviously. We'll put up on the Instagram as well, and then I mean they when they do the Instagram post, they tag you anyway, but we'll put it in the show notes on YouTube and on the podcast as well, because I think, like I said, there's people out there that they want to ask questions, but they might not know how, or they might be scared to do it. So, you know, the fact that you might be open to it is a big thing. So
I'm definitely open to it, because I know how that is. Like, I was there before, and I had, like I said, I had Jared. So and Jared has been a great mentor to me from day one. Like, he's always been there. Whenever I needed to reach out to him, he's always been there. So I definitely, I'm obligated to at least try to do that to somebody else, because I had that. You know what I mean? Yep. So 100%, I'm definitely for it.
Well, we'll end on that. Like I said, I appreciate you taking the time, and good luck with the rest of the season.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. Cool.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please like, subscribe, follow, and share this series, and reach out to us with your comments on the show. Thanks again for joining us.